Hey everybody, welcome back to my Eurovision React Review channel. So firstly, I just want to apologise for my hair. I know it looks really, really scruffy. It's not good. I need to get a haircut. I've just been really busy and I've not been able to get around to it. My job this weekend is to get that done. But that's not what this video is about. I thought I'd just put that out as a disclaimer. This video is to talk about the recent revelations that have been released in regards to some significant changes that we're going to see for Eurovision 2023. So, the EBU announced that Eurovision 2023 are going to have some significant shakeups. The first one being the fact that now the rest of the world are going to be able to have a vote. So it's quite interesting actually. So ultimately, whilst Eurovision is loved by everyone across the world, including Eurovision participating countries, historically, unless you're part of or in a country that's participating in Eurovision, you've never been able to contribute to the outcome or result of Eurovision. Well, now that's going to change. So I know particularly I have one or two friends or people kind of that I'm linked to on social media from the Philippines who absolutely love Eurovision, and as a result of that, they are super excited that they will be able to contribute in some sort of way. They'll be able to give the kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, just like any individual country. So when it comes to the final, it's really not going to make much of a difference. I kind of need to get my head around the semi-finals. I think they get to vote in both. And obviously with semi-finals, we know that can make a difference because obviously some people slip in that 10th and knock out the 11th by 1 or 2 points. But I mean, I personally have no issue with this. I mean, obviously with the inclusion of Australia anyway, like what does it mean to say the Eurovision Song Contest? It's at the end of the day a song festival, and if it means more and more people feel involved, I have no issue with that. The second one is the interesting one, the fact that they have decided that the juries will no longer take part in the semi-finals. So I think when all of this came out, I'm really glad I didn't do a reaction or talk about it on my channel, because it would have only been able to talk about that rather than the justification behind that. So we now actually have the justification behind why the EBU has decided to make a very interesting decision to eliminate the juries or get rid of the juries when it comes to just the semi-finals, but keep them in for the final. Anyway, so Jamie, a lot of this has obviously come from Twitter, and actually I do follow Jamie on Twitter. So rightfully so, since you're the most active on Twitter, this is to Sietzebaka. He's like the Eurovision guy. So since you're most active on Twitter, out of all the reference group members, care to explain why you abolished the juries in semi-finals? Because it's safe to say a big majority of people hate this decision, judging from my timeline and comments under ESC's post. So Sietzi says, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry. Following the unprecedented voting irregularities we saw this year, not naming any names, but certainly some countries apparently were suspected of colluding, we looked at ways to protect the integrity of the competition. The problem occurred in the semi-finals. This was the best way to end it. Also, difference of who qualifies in public versus public jury vote is minimal. I mean, he's not wrong there. That's actually true. If you look over the years, there isn't really much difference in regards to who goes through if it was just the jury, who goes through just through the televote. It is minimal at best. It might affect one country, but obviously it doesn't help that 2 years ago it just happened to obviously beat Albania from Croatia, which obviously I think started to get a few people questioning the role of the juries. It says it affected the semi-finals, but it didn't affect the finals because you banned the juries in the finals. So not sure about that. But interestingly, he's bringing up the fact that the one thing that's kind of been swept under the rug is the EBU has evidently penalised certain countries last year who I won't name. But then it all kind of, by basically saying they couldn't vote in the final, and then, or the juries couldn't, and then just told the whole world why. And then nothing really happened. So apparently we're going back to that moment, which I still don't feel was properly dealt with in the first place. And I think the final thing we got from Sietza on Twitter was, to all Eurovision fans, abolishment of the language rule and the orchestra, introduction of a semi-final, then another semi-final, reintroduction of the juries, change in voting presentation, Australia joining. Oh, the contest's still stronger than ever. Have a little faith. I.e., they're shaking up Eurovision. Eurovision has been shaken up in the past just to adapt and change, and it's not wrong. Like, particularly with some of these changes, I remember some of these changes there being kind of ill-feeling, but these changes have contribute to this show being one of the biggest shows in the world. I don't think anyone is saying or kind of challenging the idea that Eurovision isn't stronger than ever. So yeah, maybe we should have a little faith. In regards to this semi-finals not having juries in them, there are good points and there are bad points. And I was trying to think about this today, and I was making some notes about kind of how I feel. So I'm going to go through the reasons why I think it's a good decision. I'm going to go through the reasons why it's a bad decision, and basically say, that's what I feel. The reasons why this is good. Number one, I do feel the argument that it's gonna stop countries sending songs that are jury bait. So actually, we can't say that phrase as like reactors or YouTubers. I've said the phrase jury bait. Oh, this is jury bait. Juries are gonna lap this up. Well, we're gonna have to change our language because it's not gonna be relevant for the semi-finals. Now, there are certain countries, I don't really wanna name countries, but I feel it's quite apt, particularly if we look at the results and the style of song that they've sent. Azerbaijan, I think, can be, I wouldn't even say accused. At the end of the day, it's a competition and you play the game. And over the years, I think Azerbaijan, I was going to say Australia, there are moments where I feel Australia have done the same. But Azerbaijan have sent songs knowing that it would probably do much better with the juries than the televote. So that's going to stop. So it's going to be quite interesting now, particularly with internally selected songs, how countries go about that, because they've got to get out of that semi-final. So just sending a jury bait might mean you don't get out of the semi-final. So that's the first thing why it's quite good, because yeah, there have been songs that were evidently jury bait that I didn't particularly like. So it's going to stop countries doing that. I think it's probably a good thing. Number two, we've actually had problems with juries. They're not perfect. I mean, we've had infamous occasions where jury members have ranked the countries upside down. Like, we've had problems and issues with jury members disclosing who they voted for, which they're not allowed to do. I mean, there have been examples in the past. They're not allowed to speak, like, in one country, if they're like, I can't remember how many jury members there are, 4 or 5, they're not allowed to speak to each other. But there is evidence, particularly if you look at scorecards, that they evidently do. And there are still examples where jury members are simply just voting for their neighbours, which I always used to be kind of like, well, yeah, because obviously their neighbours still like the same kind of music. They obviously have the same sort of sound. So, of course, even a jury member is going to rank it highly because it'll be familiar to their ears. But sometimes I'm like, nah, you're just voting for your neighbour. There are evidently juries, if you look over the last few years, who have friends, i.e. countries have like paired up. And then, yeah, obviously last year's voting irregularities. So the juries aren't perfect. But then again, why keep them in the final then? I think that's the thing that some people are struggling to get their head around. I mean, obviously the juries are a talking point. Like, everyone can't wait for the results to be released after the final because we want to know who benefited and who was hurt the most by the jury. I mean, there are some countries that I think, if you kind of statistically look at it, have been disproportionately affected by the juries more than others. I mean, if you take Finland, for example, so Finland would have qualified 3 times had it not been for the jury. So 2010, 2015, and 2017. I mean, there are other countries like Belarus, Bulgaria, Croatia, Lithuania, Poland. I think all of those have been impacted twice. I mean, statistically, that's unfortunate. You would think over the years it should only really hit you once. Azerbaijan wouldn't have qualified in 2014, 15, 2022. Like, they have had some significant impact on the results, the juries. The juries have had, to some extent, a significant role in the semi-final. So to get rid of them, I mean, I don't know. Like, I've always been pro-juries. I'm going to be honest, I've always been pro-juries. Like, being British, it has been difficult over the years just to sit through Eurovision shows and just be obliterated by the televote. And so sometimes the jury has come to save us once or twice, so it's not a complete farce. But I mean, I say that, and then basically I remember distinctively when the results came out, the year of Blue, and seeing the discrepancy between the televote and the jury there, and I remember thinking, that's not fair. So, I mean, there must be, obviously, what Kaino must have felt like that, Norway must have felt like that when the results came. Well, no, we knew the results, right? And also, are they actually fulfilling their role as music experts? Now, I will admit, like, what is a music expert? I'm not a music expert. And I'm sure if you spoke to different people, you would get a different answer behind what actually makes a music expert. But, like, I don't know. I look at some of these results. I'm like, your role is to be in that position because you're supposed to be an expert in music. And you've given that song that, and that song that. That makes no sense. So I don't know whether they've actually fully fulfilled their role as music professionals and experts anyway. So as a result of that, it does question the legitimacy of their role, in my opinion. It might get people also voting again. So what I mean by that is, I know there is elements when I speak to some people about a bit of voters' apathy, because some people feel that they can vote a certain way, but the juries have so much power, it really dilutes their vote. So knowing that there is no jury might actually give a more of a sense of power to the televoter, so it might get people voting again. And the last thing, which obviously I've stolen elsewhere, I hadn't thought about it before, but I did see it on social media. Some people are saying that this could be opening the door for Turkey coming back. Now, I don't know if there has ever been like an official statement from Turkey behind kind of why they are definitely not returning, but I know that they have issues with the juries. So some people are saying this might be the EBU trying to send a signal to Turkey, almost like a white flag, for Turkey to consider coming back next year, potentially. So actually, what's also quite bad is all the reasons why I think it's a good thing totally outweighs why I think it's a bad thing. I think the juries have made things a bit fairer. I mean, number one, you've obviously got countries that participate in Eurovision that have significantly low voting in the televotes, which can be manipulated, can be up for corruption. So the juries, or having a jury, kind of balances that out. And number two, there are countries that seem to have performed slightly better with the existence of juries, because we all know them. There are certain countries that, for whatever reason, struggle to pick up a significant televote. I mean, I remember being absolutely shocked when Destiny's televote came out from Malta. I don't think anyone's in denial here that actually Malta benefit with a jury. I mean, Australia, I remember, like, even if you take, Dami Im's result, there was a huge discrepancy between the jury and the televote. Australia have massively benefited from the jury. I think Belgium as well. I think if you properly do a results analysis, Belgium has massively benefited with a jury. And all three of those countries are not direct qualifiers. They're going to have to come through the semi-finals. Does this mean that some countries now have a disadvantage and actually it's an uphill struggle to qualify? I really hope not. But you would kind of use a bit of rationale and reasoning here to suggest that Malta, San Marino, with a limited diaspora, may struggle. So with that said, I really, really don't know. I've been thinking about the last few days. What do I feel about it? It would seem that, based on everything I've said, it's a good thing to get rid of them. But ultimately, I've got to be real, and I've got to kind of work out what is more important to me as a Eurovision fan. Fairness. And I know people will be like, well, having the juries is unfair anyway. But I do think it provides a better playing field for countries that do historically struggle with the televote, and I've named those. And I've had no issues with the results over the years, i.e. who have qualified. So I'm pretty much swaying towards they should have kept them. And actually, I've seen a few posts on social media where people have said it was lazy. This decision was lazy. Rather than trying to deal with the structural issues that evidently are there that led to the potential issues last year, we'll deal with that rather than completely upchange the whole system. I would have kept them. And what I would then pose the EBU, for me, everything you've said is slightly illogical if you've kept them for the final. That's my problem. I don't understand that rationale. You've justified all the reasons why you've got rid of them, but you've kept them for the final. So I would have kept them, in my opinion. But yeah, it is just my opinion. But I do want to know what everyone else thinks. So Hopefully people have got to the end of this, because there was elements of that was just simply just a rant. But if you got to the end of this, please let me know in the comments below what you think about the changes. If you're still here and you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. Please click the notification button so you're informed if and when I post videos. And yeah, until next time, stay safe.